Study Section 9. The American Federation. Introduction. In this particular study section, which is strictly on American Federation, our preoccupation will be on the history, geography, population, economy, and position in world politics. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this section, you should be able to 1. Outline the historical signpost of the America. 2. Describe Americans' position in world politics. 3. Discuss American constitutional system. 4. Analyze separations of power in American federal systems. Historical developments of the United States. Seymour Martins has argued that the United States was the world's first new nation, in the sense that the problem it faced in the effort to establish a stable and principled political system after winning its independence from Britain in 1783 were in many respects similar or identical to those faced by the nations created after 1945. It can fairly claim to have become a full-fledged democracy well before any other large modern nation. In the 1790s, it develops the world's first modern political parties, and today's Democratic Party is generally recognized as the world's oldest active political party. Before 1861, many Americans, especially those in the 11 southern states that succeeded to form the Confederacy, felt that they were first and foremost citizens of their states and derived their American citizenship from the membership of the states in the Union. In short, all Americans are now primarily citizens of the United States and derivatively become citizens of the state in which they reside. American position in world politics. As we noted above, until the end of the 19th century, the United States followed an isolationist foreign policy and was only a major player in world politics. The changeover began with the Spanish-American War, 1898, Theodore Roosevelt, mediation of the Russo-Japanese War, 1905, and American belated entry, 1917, into World War I, 1914-18. Since 1918, America has been a leading player on the world stage. The Cold War came to an end in 1991 when the Soviet Union was formally dissolved. Its 15 former constituent republics became separate independent nations, and other Eastern Europe nations that had followed the USSR's lead, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Poland, went their own ways or were absorbed by Western nations, East Germany, or divided into new nations, the Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic. In the 1990s, the United States continues to be the world's most powerful nation, but a new international order is emerging. Whatever its final shape may be, the United States will continue to play an active role and demanding role, though that new role is bound to be different from what it was during the Cold War. The working of the American federal system. 1. American constitutional system. The constitutional system, as in most modern nations, Britain and Israel, are two notable exceptions. The basic structure of the American system of government is set forth in a written constitution. The Constitution of the United States, drawn up in 1787, ratified in 1788, and inaugurated in 1789. Constitution amendments. It has been formally amended 27 times, the most recent being the 1992 amendment, which provided that no law changing the compensation for members of Congress shall take effect until an election of members of the House has been held. Among the most important amendments are the following. The first 10, known collectively as the Bill of Rights, list the rights of individuals which the national government is forbidden to abridge. The 14th Amendment, ratified just after the Civil War, makes national citizenship legally superior to state citizenship and prohibits the state from violating the privileges and immunities of U.S. citizens, which by judicial interpretation has come to mean nearly all the rights guaranteed against the national government by the first 10 amendments. Even with these amendments, most of the basic elements of the 1789 Constitution have remained in force, whereas the written constitution in many other countries and in most of the American states have been replaced several times. Examples are the addition of judicial reviews, the development of political parties, and the conversion of the presidential selection process from one of choices made behind closed doors by small cliques of insiders to one of popular elections open to all citizens. 2. The American federal system. Federalism is a system in which governmental power is divided between a national government and several subnational governments, each of which is legally supreme in its assigned sphere. Thus, the framers divided power between the national and the state governments and gave each state equal representation in the national senate, because it was the only way they could get a new constitution. Federalism has been widely praised as one of the great American contributions to the act of government. A number of different nations have adopted it as a way of enabling different regions with sharply different cultures and interests to join together as one nation. The American federal system divides government power in the following principal ways. 1. Power specifically assigned to the federal government, such as the power to declare war, make treaties with foreign nations, coin money, and regulate commerce between the states. 2. Power reserved to the states by the 10th Amendment, which says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. The states do not have to accept the money, but if they do, they also have accepted federal standard governing how the money is to be spent and federal monitoring to make sure it is spent that way. Powers that can be exercised either the federal government or the state, such as imposing taxes and defining and punishing crimes. 2. Powers forbidding to the federal government, mainly those in the first 8 amendments, such as abridging freedom of speech, press, and religion, and various guarantee of fair trials for persons accused of crimes. 3. Powers forbidding to the state government. Some of these are in the body of the Constitution, but the main ones are the 14th Amendment requirement that no state shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. When all is said and done, however, perhaps the most important single point to note about the nature of American federalism is made in the Constitution, Article 5. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in portions thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Thus, to the extent that the American federal system is a competition between the national government and the states, the chief umpire is a member of one of the two competing teams. 3. Separation of powers. Since most analysts of the American system maintain that separation of power is the most important single difference between the U.S. system, which is called a presidential democracy, and most other democratic systems, which are called parliamentary democracies. Let us be clear on the system's main features. The state personnel. The 3 branches are separated in several ways, the most important of which is the requirement in Article 1, Section 6, that no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. The president is elected indirectly by the Electoral College through actually by direct popular elections for a 4-year term and is limited to 2 full elected terms. All federal judges, including the members of the Supreme Court, are appointed by the president with the approval of a majority of the Senate, and they hold office until death, resignation, or removal by the Congress. Checks and balances. The other main devices ensuring the separation of powers are the checks and balances by which each branch can keep the other 2 branches from invading its power. The president also makes the initial appointment of all federal judges. Presidents have almost always nominated only judges who are likely to agree with their own political philosophies and policy preferences. Some scholars believe that the American system is more accurately described as a system of separated branches exercising shared power, since getting government actions usually requires some kind of joint action by the Congress and the President with the acquiescence of the Supreme Court. Whatever it is called, this constitutional feature, more than any other, makes the American system different from most other democratic systems. Study section summary. In this study section, you learned that America has been described as the world's first new nation. It has the world's oldest written constitution still in effect. America is the 4th largest nation in the world, smaller only than Russia, Canada, and the People's Republic of China. More than any other nation in history, America is a nation of immigrants. We discussed that the American constitutional system has 3 distinctive features: federalism, separation of powers, and judicial review. The first modern form of federalism was established by the American Constitution. The American federal system divides government power in clear terms. Judicial review can be defined as the power of a court to render an act of a legislature or an executive null and void on grounds of unconstitutionality. End of study section 9. End of POS 443. Thank you for listening.